Hey guys, welcome back to Sparkman Homestead. My name is Krista. We're in the kitchen today and we are going to get a whole bunch of preserving done today. I think what I'm going to do for this video is I am actually going to kind of span it out over the next couple of days because I'm going to be realistic with myself, and I know that what I have planned to get all done today is probably most likely not going to get done today. So what I kind of have loosely planned is I want to make some ketchup, I want to make some barbecue sauce, and we just picked all of these grapes. My kids went out and picked them all for me, and I want to make some grape juice with this because I would like to potentially make grape jelly with it. I mean, I'll drink it regardless because I love Concord grapes. But maybe we can make some grape jelly with it. So that's kind of loosely what I have planned today. I also brought in all of my onions that have been curing outside. So I brought them all in yesterday, or maybe it was the day before. All these days are just meshing together. So I brought them in and I need to get them put into some storage bags so that they can go in storage for the year. There was a couple of onions in that batch that need to kind of get put into the freezer because they were starting to get a little mushy and I don't want them to go to waste. So I have to get them cut up today also and put in the freezer. As you can see, I'm still dealing with this huge pile of tomatoes. I have zero freezer space to put these tomatoes, so I kind of have to get them preserved right away because we're going to be processing our turkeys in 2 weeks, and we have 9 of them and they're probably about 40 to 50 pounds each. So I need to clean up some of that freezer space. So those tomatoes have to get processed. So that's kind of loosely what we have planned today. Like I said, most likely I'm going to be taking you guys along with me over the next couple of days while we try to get these projects done. I actually have to get some supper marinating right now, but that will be on the What We Eat in a Week style video that comes out on Saturdays. So you'll see that on that video. So I need to get that done, and then we are going to get busy getting this stuff preserved. So I've got my Hawaiian beef marinating in the fridge. What we are going to do now is we are going to get our onions put into these bags. I actually purchased these bags from Dixondale Farm. This is our pile of onions that we have to get put into these bags. So what I'm going to do is take my onion and I'm just going to cut the bottom roots off of it, and then I just cut the top part, and that is good. And then I take the onion and just put it in these bags. So we have this whole pile to do. Last year I had about 80 pounds of onions. It was a really, really good onion year. But this year, because of our really wet weather and it took a while for me to get the onions put into the ground, my onions did not do very well this year. I had more than half of my onions actually rot. It was really, really disappointing. So I don't have very much this year, but I'm going to be really grateful for what I do have because I could have no onions. So super grateful. I actually ended up purchasing these onion starts from Dixondale Farm. So I have 2 different kinds here. I have a Walla Walla or candy apple onion. It's a sweet yellow onion. And then I have a red onion. I can't remember what the exact name of these are. I find that my red onions actually don't store very long, so I'm going to try to get these guys used up first before I start to use my yellow onions. But even you can see on this one, it didn't cure very well. And again, we have such a hard time curing stuff here because of our humidity. I really need to look into getting some type of option for like a root cellar or something, because it's just so hard to store this stuff here. I find that I'm just really just having to cut this stuff up and put it into my freezer. Okay, so I'm going to finish talking and then we are going to get this work done because this is one of my big projects. It's just sitting here on my garage floor, so I really need to get this done. I really need to have focus to get it done. So let's get it done. we have 1.5 bags of yellow onion, 1 bag of red onion. These are the onions that I have to get cut up right away. And we gotta get using them right away because they are all starting to go bad. So I think what we're gonna do with those onions is we have a couple of canning recipes that we need onions for. So we'll just chop them up, use them in those. But I think a lot of those yellow onions, what we'll do is we will put them in the dehydrator, dehydrate them, and then we'll make onion powder with them because that is a perfect thing to do really quickly. Now, the dehydrator is probably gonna be put outside because I don't know if you've ever dehydrated onions before, but it stinks, like really, really stinks. Like my neighbor beside us, he came over one time and he's like, I could tell that you were dehydrating onions because it smells so bad. So we'll put the dehydrator outside and we'll get those going. So I think what we'll do, we'll go inside, get that all prepped. The other thing that I picked the other day was we got all of our corn picked. So these all have to get shucked and I need to get those canned. Now, a lot of the corn, here so I can show you guys, a lot of the corn, right there, worms. I do not like worms. Also, the other thing is you notice that it did not pollinate very good. These were kind of the last bit of the corn. So I'm gonna have to go through these. This might actually be something that we need to get done today because like, half of this cob is good, but the other half is not good. Maybe these are something that I actually need to get to today and not leave this another day because these have been sitting here for 2 days now. So I have to get those done also. I know I said it on my other video that I'm a tad bit overwhelmed with all of this stuff, but you know what? This morning I actually did a post on my Instagram and I kind of just had a realization hit me. I'm feeling overwhelmed at this particular time frame, like at this particular moment, this week, these 2 weeks. It's definitely been amplified because I decided to take a 6-day vacation in the middle of preserving season, but it is a busy season because I'm trying to get everything preserved, but I also have to remember that come the dead of winter, this is not going to be the season that I'm in. The dead of winter, I'm going to be wishing that my garden was overflowing with produce, just dreaming of my tables being full of it and just dreaming of a busy kitchen with the canner going. So I just really have to remember that this may be a really busy time for me, but this is not going to last forever. I'm going to have a hard couple of weeks, but it will be over sooner than I like. So I know that I'm probably complaining a lot about getting all of this stuff done, but I realistically need to just check myself and just remember that it's not always going to be like this. So just a reminder for myself as I'm complaining about all of this stuff to do. So let's get this onion stuff cleaned up and then get them in the dehydrator. All right, so we are inside now. So I've come up with the plan. I had to sit down with a notebook and just kind of write down stuff because I'm just trying to strategize how I'm going to get my day kind of working efficiently for me. So we have the onions that we need to get processed here. What I'm going to do before I even get to these onions is I am going to wash these grapes, get them kind of sorted out, get the ripe ones put into the pressure cooker. I found this recipe or strategy online, and what it is you take your Concord grapes and you put them in your pressure canner. So we're gonna put or pressure cooker. We're gonna put them in the Instapot. It says to put them in there for 5 minutes, let it naturally release, and then put it in kind of like a jelly bag and let it drip. So we're gonna try it. There's no harm in it. I am gonna keep a couple of the grapes out for fresh eating because like I said before, I love eating Concord grapes. They're my favorite grape. So we're gonna get that done while the pressure canner's going through, then we will start the process of getting those onions done. And then we'll just keep moving from there. So I'm just taking the grapes and you can see like there's like some green ones on here. They will not ripen on the vine, like they will not ripen off of the vine. So I'm just gonna pick the ones that we're gonna make the juice with, and then everything else will just go into my compost. So But you see right here, like we have this grape right here. It's not really ripe enough, and definitely I'm not gonna put that in the juice. So I think the ones that are like not quite ripe enough, we'll just leave and put aside because I'll still eat these really super tart grapes. All right, so you guys can't see me. So I have all of my grapes rinsed out and I just put them in this bowl. Kind of picked all of the little green bits out of them. So I have my Instapot insert. I'm just gonna put the grapes in there. Now, the website that I'm using, I can leave it linked for you guys in the video description. It does say that each load usually takes about 6 to 7 pounds. See, I'm still picking these little guys out. It says each load usually takes 6 to 7 pounds of grapes. So we have about 7.5 here, but that was when I had them on the stems. So it's probably just under 7 pounds now. Plus I picked out a lot of green ones. The website doesn't say anything on what level of pressure cook you're gonna do. I'm just gonna assume we're gonna pressure cook on high. So I'm gonna do pressure level high, and then we're gonna pressure cook for 5 minutes. Then we're gonna naturally let it release. After it's done its complete release, then we're gonna strain out the skins and the seeds from the juice. And then from there, we'll move on to the next step because we wanna kind of have a clear juice. And from what I was reading, Concord grapes have a lot of pectin in it. So we want to kind of get that pectin out so that we can have that clear juice. Because my first plan with this is to make a juice. And then if we really like the juice, obviously we'll drink through it. If not, then maybe we'll make like a jelly with it, which the pectin would be good for that. But first goal is juice. So got my lid all ready. So we'll put it in the locked position. And like I said, we're gonna do pressure cook. And see it's on low pressure. So we're gonna change it to high pressure and we are gonna do 5 minutes. Turn the keep warm off. So we'll let it do its thing. Next up on the list, I'm gonna go and get my motorcycle helmet because I'm gonna be cutting up a whole bunch of onions. This is like the only way that I've actually found to cut onions without my eyes like bleeding. I put a motorcycle helmet on and it prevents it. So I look funny, but it gets the job done. So I'm gonna go get it right now. All right, ready to cut onions now. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm ready to cut onions now. I just put my visor down and just go to work. And this looks ridiculous, but it really, really works. And I don't have runny eyes. Lift it up so you guys can hear me. I'm just gonna cut away all of the bad parts. Like you can see here, this onion is really, really rotted. So I'll get my compost bin out and then we'll just put all of the bad pieces in the compost bin. I'm trying to save as much onion as possible. I don't know if this one's savable. Pretty mushy. We got the onions all chopped up. The helmet worked kind of okay. My eyes were still watering. They're still kind of recovering a bit. So this is what we got. We got a fairly big, huge bowl of white onions. We're gonna use that right now because we're gonna make some ketchup up. And we have some red onions over there. Those red onions, I'm just gonna end up freezing because I'm not gonna use them in any recipes. And whatever we have left out of this bowl, we're gonna throw into the dehydrator. So I am going to help a helper today. She is going to be making some barbecue sauce for us. She's gonna be making my Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. This is our favorite barbecue sauce. And then one thing that she actually needs that we ran out of is she needs some brown sugar. So I am going to quickly whip up a batch of brown sugar, and then after that I will show you how she is making the barbecue sauce. The other thing too is we're still waiting for those grapes to come down. The 5 minutes has gone through, but they are just kind of decompressing still, and then I will show you those coming out of the Instapot. To make my brown sugar, all as I do is I take some organic cane sugar and I think I'm adding about 6 cups here. I can't remember exactly how much. I was just really just eyeballing everything, was just determining how much I needed just to fill up my little container there you can see in the background. So I put about 6 cups of the sugar in my mixing bowl, and then depending on how dark you want your brown sugar, you're going to add your molasses. We were going for light brown sugar, so I think I added about 4 tablespoons of molasses, and you're just going to set it to mix until it's all incorporated, and there you have brown sugar. So it was actually my daughter that was helping me make the barbecue sauce. I'm trying to teach her basics of canning, so this was a really good recipe to show her. We are doubling the recipe, but I will give you guys the measurements for a single recipe. Now I do have a video kind of showing you guys more in depth how I make it, and I can leave that linked for you guys in the video description. This is going to be a very quick walkthrough of it. To a stock pot, you are going to add 5 1/3 cup of ketchup, 2 cups of brown sugar, 1 cup of molasses, 3 cups or 24 fluid ounces of pineapple juice, half a cup of Worcestershire sauce, half a cup of apple cider vinegar, a 1/4 cup of dry mustard, 1/4 cup of smoked paprika, and the recipe calls for 8 teaspoons of cornstarch. Now, because we were canning this, we used a Clear Jel instead of cornstarch. It does the exact same thing. It's a thickener. The only difference is it is actually safe for canning. So we added 8 teaspoons of the Clear Jel to this, and then 4 teaspoons of garlic powder, 4 teaspoons of salt, 4 teaspoons of hot sauce, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, and 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Now, I told her to go a little easy with the cayenne pepper because we like more of the sweet and smoky barbecue sauce instead of like the hit of heat in there. So she added a little less of the cayenne pepper. The same goes for whatever you like with the hot sauce also. This was our homemade hot sauce, and I told her it has some heat, so just be very gentle with it. So once she got everything added into the pot, she was doing this all with the heat turned off because she didn't want to burn anything. Once everything was added in, then she just stirred it or changed it out to a whisk and just whisked it until it was thickened. It honestly didn't take very long for it to come together. We have the barbecue sauce going on the stovetop. So what I did while she was getting that barbecue sauce all made was I got about 25 pounds of cored tomatoes in my roaster oven. So what I plan to do with these tomatoes is to make ketchup, because we just used a whole bunch of ketchup in that barbecue sauce. So I want to get some more going. This year, I would say I have a bumper crop of tomatoes. I have a lot of tomatoes, and there's still a lot more out there. So any year that I get an excess amount of tomatoes is the year that I make ketchup, because it takes a lot of ketchup or a lot of tomatoes to make ketchup. So we're gonna let these cook down, probably cook down for about half an hour. After half an hour, we'll come back and we will add the other ingredients into this roaster pan. And the beauty with ketchup is that it really just can cook forever. So I am gonna let that cook down all night, and then in the morning, we'll come back, stir it, make sure it is at the texture that we like, or the consistency, and then we'll get that canned up tomorrow. Like I said at the beginning of this video is probably gonna be spanned out over a couple of days because we're really getting this stuff done. So, oh, the other thing, the grapes finally came down from pressure. So we're gonna get those drained out, and then I'll show you what it looks like. We're gonna take it out now. Oh my gosh, it smells delicious. This is what it looks like. Alrighty, had to get my gloves on because it's really hot. So we're gonna take it and just strain it. Get juice everywhere. It smells like grape juice. This is the first time that I'm making this, so this is fun. And it's even more fun, I think, because we grew these. So what I'm doing, this is the first straining of it. This is just the skins and the seeds. So what I'm gonna do after I kind of get this good and strained, I'm gonna clean this out, the strainer, and then put some cheesecloths over top of it, and then just kind of leave this for a couple hours just so that it can do a slow drip. We actually ended up pouring the juice into one of these, I call them a nut bag. This is the bags that I use when I make my almond milk, or when I used to make my almond milk. So we poured the juice into here, and then we put some twine on it, and we just ended up hanging it from one of the handles on the kitchen cabinet, and we just let it drip. After that, we ended up putting it in the fridge for a couple of days. So the tomatoes had finally cooked down. These are the tomatoes that I had cored and just put in my roaster oven. So I am going to be making a ketchup recipe. Now the recipe that I am using here is supposed to be like a copycat for the Heinz ketchup. I believe I actually got this recipe from Living Tradition Homestead, I think it's called, their YouTube channel. She did a video on actually how she makes ketchup. I did a couple of little tweaks to this, but that is the loose recipe that I am using. What I'm adding here is 3 cups of those white onions that we chopped together, 2 cups of sugar. I actually went back and added another cup of sugar because I had more tomatoes in here than the recipe actually called for. 3 cups of vinegar. I used half white and half apple cider vinegar, a 1/4 cup of pickling or canning salt, 2 1/3 teaspoon of garlic powder. I use a granulated garlic, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of celery seed, and half a teaspoon of mustard powder. So I stirred it all up and let that cook for a while until it was good and cooked down. What you're seeing there is I'm just getting my cut up onions on the dehydrator trays and just getting them put into the dehydrator. So this is me canning up the barbecue sauce. What we did for the barbecue sauce is we put it into hot jars because the barbecue sauce was hot, the canner was hot, so we needed to have hot jars. So we added it and left a 1/2 inch headspace to this, and then we added those jars to the water bath canner. We're gonna process them for 20 minutes in the water bath canner. After the 20 minutes, we're gonna remove the canner from the stovetop, take the lid off, let it just kind of come down naturally, like cool down naturally, and then take the jars out. We're gonna leave them rest for about 12 to 24 hours before we take the rings off. So what I'm doing here is I'm just straining my ketchup out. I don't like a seedy ketchup, so I run it through my food mill before I actually can it up, and it results in a smoother ketchup. Now, this ketchup took almost 2 days to get to this thickness, and even after the 2 days, I still had to come in and actually add some Clear Jel to it. It was just not thickening up. Now, the problem is that the recipe calls to use paste tomatoes, which I did not have enough of, so I used some of my slicers, which are a high water content tomato. So it is not best to use them, but I was able to make it work with the Clear Jel. I probably ended up adding about a 1/4 cup of Clear Jel to that just to get it to the thickness that I like. But again, it took almost 2 days for it to thicken up. Ketchup is a very slow process to make, but it is really worth it. I love the taste of it. So here I'm just wiping the rims off because it is pretty sticky, and then I'm just putting some lids and fingertip tight rings on there, and we are going to leave 1/2 inch headspace on these, and we are going to process them in a water bath canner for 15 minutes. Again, after the 15 minutes, we'll take it off, and then we will let these jars just sit here for 12 to 24 hours before we take those rings off. So the next recipe I'm going to share with you guys, I just want to put a little disclaimer before I tell you what it is. This is not a tested recipe. I got this online. I don't remember where I got it from, but I do remember that it was literally just somebody writing it down. So it has not been tested. So please use your own discretion and what you feel safe in your home doing for your family. I feel comfortable doing it because of the brine mixture in it. It looks very, very canning safe, or I feel it's safe for my home. So what I am doing is I am making some cucumber shreds for a future tzatziki sauce. So excited when I found this because I love tzatziki sauce. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some of my tasty green cucumbers here. These are very similar to an English cucumber, just very low seeds. And I'm going to grate them into this large bowl, and then I'm going to add some minced garlic. I added about probably 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, and then some kosher salt or canning salt. And I added probably, again, 2 teaspoons. This is a very rough estimate of measurements because it really depends on how much cucumber you actually have. So I'm going to get all of those ingredients stirred together. I'm gonna add them to a colander and I'm gonna drain off the juices. Now this took probably about 2 hours for it to get good and drained to where I felt comfortable canning it. You're gonna reserve the juice. I made the mistake and ended up pouring out a majority of my juice before I realized I actually needed it for the brine. So don't throw it out. So what I'm doing now is I am just packing my 1/2 pint jars, and I am going to leave 1/2 inch headspace. I'm gonna make the brine right now, and what you use to make the brine, again, depends on how much cucumber you actually have. I'm using 1/2 cup of lemon juice, 1/4 cup of white vinegar, and 1/2 cup of that reserved juice from like the drain off juice from the cucumbers. And then you're gonna add them to your 1/2 pint size jars. And again, we're leaving that 1/2 inch headspace. What I'm doing here is I'm just debubbling because there was quite a bit of space in between there. And this is a water bath canning recipe. Because it has the vinegar and the lemon juice, it is what I feel is safe for canning and safe for water bath canning. So we are going to get these into the water bath canner and we're going to put them in there for 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes, we'll come back and remove them from the canner. So how you would actually end up making this recipe, so if in the future when you want to make tzatziki sauce with it, you're going to take your jar and then you are going to drain the mixture really good. It just says drain well. And then at that point, you take these cucumbers and you can mix them with either your Greek yogurt, olive oil, and dill. She does also mention that you can add your other seasonings that you like red pepper flakes, black pepper, or different flavored vinegars. I tasted a little bit of this cucumber before I actually ended up canning it, and it really does taste like it would be amazing tzatziki sauce. So I only made, I think, 4 or 5 1/2 pint jars. I have more cucumbers and I am planning on making more of it because it looks like it's going to be a winner of a recipe. So we finally got the onions all dehydrated. This is literally 3 days later. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my dehydrated onions and I'm just adding them to a little coffee grinder there. I use this coffee grinder just strictly for spices and herbs. I do not grind coffee in this, so I don't want the taste of onion in coffee. So I'm just putting my dried onion into my little spice grinder there, and we're just gonna grind it up until it is a powder form. Humidity where I live is pretty intense and stuff just does not dry very well. So I noticed that this powder was still, and you can even see it here, it's still really clumpy and there was still some moisture to it. So I ended up throwing this back into my dehydrator on these trays here, and I just dehydrated this for another probably 5 hours. After the 5 hours, I came back, ran it through that spice grinder, and it was a perfect powdered consistency. Hey guys, so it has been a couple of days since I last filmed the last project. My videos are very, very sporadic right now because I have been like really focusing on getting everything preserved. It's just really a cut and paste project right now at this point with these videos. So I am sorry I am a couple of days late here, but I wanted to come back, say goodbye, and I also wanted to show you the grape juice. I have it right here. This is what it looks like. Really beautiful. So I completely forgot to turn the camera on when it came to finishing the processing of that grape juice. What I ended up doing was putting the grape juice after it was strained through that nut bag, is I put it in the fridge in that bowl. And what happened over the next 2 days is the pectin started to form and it all settled to the very bottom of the bowl. It was really cool. It almost was like, and I'm really upset I didn't actually turn the camera on. It was kind of like a crystal form. It was really cool. So what I did is I strained it again through a cheesecloth this time, and then I heated it up. I'm gonna leave the recipe or the directions linked for you guys in the video description because I'm probably leaving out quite a bit of direction. I'm just really trying to honestly remember what I did. Anyways, I ended up canning it, and it is safe to can. It is very, very tart. I did not add any sugar to it. The recipe says you can add sugar, but I really just wanted to keep it as natural as possible. I think it ended up super tart for us because I used some grapes that probably weren't completely ripe yet. So that's probably where the tartness ended up coming from. But we got the tzatziki sauce all done. I am so excited about this one, and I was so happy to share it with you guys because cucumbers, the only thing I ever find online for canning cucumbers is pickles. And to be honest, we don't love pickles. So for me to grow cucumbers, I don't like to waste any. I do love to fresh eat cucumbers, but when you grow a cucumber plant or even 2 cucumber plants, you just get inundated with cucumbers, and I hate wasting them. So when I found this recipe, I was super excited, and I was super excited to share it with you guys. I love sharing fun, interesting recipes with you guys. So that is gonna be the end of this week's video. That was what, week 3 of the Every Bit Counts challenge. So we are already now full in week 4. I actually already have some other canning projects filmed for you guys for next week's video. And I am going to also attempt to do a couple of really cool condiment recipes. I am trying to completely eliminate the need for the grocery store. So I want to try to make all of my condiments myself, just so that I know how to do it, so that I don't have to rely on the grocery store and rely on, you know, unknown ingredients. So that is going to be also included in next week's video. It's a lot of tomato stuff because we got a lot of tomatoes. I said earlier on in this video, I have a bumper crop of tomatoes. I am so blessed this year with so many tomatoes. So we're gonna get everything canned. That way next year, if we don't have a bumper crop, I'm not stressing about it because my pantry shelves will be full of stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you on the next video. Bye guys.